In today's video, I'm going to be reacting to some interview clips from UFC 311's co-main event, Merab Dvalishvili and Umar Nurmagomedov. I'll get to the bottom of all the controversy, whether or not a fake injury from Umar Nurmagomedov was the reason why his interview was originally taken down, whether or not Merab wanted this fight in the first place. We'll get to all of that. But first, guys, I want to say welcome back to the channel. I've been absolutely blasting the content for the UFC 311 main event, Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan. There's no way this fight doesn't deliver. Both guys are so well-rounded, they're so elite. But before we get on to the co-main event interview reaction, I do want to address a couple of comments from my last video. I did a really objective, well, I think it was a really objective analysis of the main event's fighting styles. So I looked at Islam Makhachev and some of his previous fights and some of Arman Tsarukyan's recent fights, where both fighters looked really good, where a couple of areas that could be exploited, and generally the comments were very good. I got some really positive feedback, which was great. But there was a recurring theme. I was accused of being an Islam Makhachev hater, really pro-Arman. I just don't see it that way. I did make a point of saying how difficult it was finding any weaknesses in Makhachev's game. He's so well-rounded. He's the pound-for-pound #1 for a reason. However, to make up for this misunderstanding, I think I'm going to take Islam Makhachev's advice by sending my newborn to Dagestan for 2-3 years and forgetting about them. I think that's the only way that these people, these commenters, are going to think that I'm pro-Makhachev. And then, you know what, I'll be reunited with her when she's 3 years old, an absolute wrestling phenom. That would actually be unbelievable. Going to give her a hug at the airport, she level changes and gives me a blast double leg. No, but guys, seriously, please keep the comments coming, whether they're criticisms or compliments. I don't mind either way. Appreciate the support, appreciated all the likes, and I really appreciate the fact that you guys seem to be enjoying the new direction that I'm taking the channel. Rather than spreading myself too thin, I'm focusing more on the main events and the co-main events and #1 contender fights. There are loads of great channels that cover cards from top to bottom, but if you're wanting in-depth analysis, looking at mindset, looking at fighting styles and all of that in the big fights, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, it really does help. But anyway, that's enough about saying that I'm going to send my daughter to Dagestan because I think my wife will end up killing me. So let's get on with the interview reaction, and we're going to start with the champion. It's the right place to start, Merab Dvalishvili. And the first clip we're going to look at is him talking about life since he became a champion.
All right, Merab, you've got to tell me, how has life changed since you've become the world champion?
I mean, it's been good, but since I became champion, it's came a lot of drama too. You know, yeah, lots of talking online. I don't know, maybe because of everybody wanted to see me fight against Umar. You know, everybody talking shit, and I used to, the last couple of fights I used to get a lot of attention, to people recognize me, but to hate in Instagram and I mean even in social media, it was very hard for me, and, you know, so that was like extra pressure. But it's all good, you know. Now I'm good, you know. I mean, focus.
This to me looks like a man who's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, the deep sighs, all that negative language. Everything that he answered to that question, what has life been like since you became champion, was negative, talking about the hate comments, the pressure that everyone's giving him to fight Umar. He's not saying that he's enjoying himself. He's not in that honeymoon period where he's wearing the belt, celebrating it with fans. All of his answers there were negative. And I might be reading too much into this, but I think there is quite a lot you can take from his body language, from the answer that he gives there, to see where his mindset is heading into this fight. It does seem very negative. That being said, people get motivated, fighters get motivated by either positive things or negative things. Your hatred or your burning hatred towards another fighter can be a really powerful motivating factor when you're in the gym, getting in those extra reps, those longer training sessions. Other fighters are fueled by positivity, winning the belt, celebrating with family, celebrating with fans. Maybe Merab's just the type of fighter who needs a bit of negativity to fuel his training. But either way, I thought that was a strange way to open the interview. A real focus on all the negative parts about becoming a champion. Like I said, maybe that's just Merab's personality, but I think this next clip we're going to look at does explain some of the reasons why he is feeling so negative heading into this fight.
Yeah, everyone's excited about the matchup. What makes you excited about finally being able to face Umar?
Umar is a good fighter. It's a big challenge, but he don't earn it like rest of us. You know, like we all know that we all work hard to earn to get here, and I mean, I don't get anything easy, but Umar somehow gets easy. He just complains all the time. Nobody wanna fight him, but there is so many good fighters. There is Bautista. There is other fighters. They are killers. Even Jackson. I forget his first name.
Okay, so there's a couple of ways we can look at this answer. Either you're looking at a man with a chip on his shoulder who believes that because he's worked hard, everyone has to work as hard as him to get into the same position. That's one way of looking at it. And the other way that you can look at it is that Merab does have a point here, and that Umar has only beaten Corey Sandhagen in the top 10. It's nowhere near the run that Merab had to have to get to his title shot against Sean O'Malley. Personally, I think I am leaning more towards the fact that Merab does have a bit of a chip on his shoulder. This has been a consistent theme throughout his career. Don't get me wrong, I'm not questioning his work ethic. I think his cardio is a testament to how hard he does work, and he has really had to go through a long list of killers to get his title shot. But at the same time, when you look at potential contenders, I don't really see anyone being higher up on my list than Umar Nurmagomedov. You can look at rematches with Peter Yan, with Sean O'Malley, but realistically, you need the division to continuously move on, and Umar is the next guy. And ultimately, when you are picking contenders, it isn't a pure meritocracy. I think that's just a harsh reality of the UFC being a business. You have to take into consideration name value. The Nurmagomedov name does hold a lot of weight as well. So whilst I do believe Umar is probably the best contender out there, I also take into consideration the fact that he has a huge fan base. He'll be very marketable if he becomes champion. And I think Merab is all too aware of these things. There are two more clips from this interview I do want to take a look at before we move on to Umar. But I think so far what we've seen, his headspace does seem very negative. I'm not sure whether I should be worried or not. Let me know in the comments if you think that this is a worrying sign. But the next clip we're going to look at is Merab talking about how good an opponent Umar is.
How do you feel like this actual fight looks then?
The fight will be really tough, and this is big challenge for me because it's a new face, and yeah, he's a good fighter. He has a good kicking, good striking, good wrestling, and yeah, it's a new challenge.
I think that's a really honest assessment by Merab. He's acknowledging how tough a fight Umar's going to be, but one of the reasons why it's so tough is because Umar is a new opponent. He's only got the footage from the Corey Sandhagen fight to see Umar fighting a real top contender. It's very different looking at fight footage from guys who are really lower ranked, not on the same skill level, but he only has that one fight to really study to see potential openings against Umar, and that's a real challenge in itself. Umar has so much fight footage to watch of Merab against Petr Yan, against Sean O'Malley, against Jose Aldo, loads of top contenders in the bantamweight division. Merab doesn't have that luxury, and obviously from what we know of Umar, he's such a good fighter. I think he actually came from a kickboxing background and learned wrestling, contrary to a lot of the Dagestan fighters that we're used to seeing. So Merab isn't delusional here. He's acknowledging how difficult this fight is going to be. It could be one and done in terms of title fights for Merab Dvalishvili. So he really needs to make sure he's on his A game. He realises that he's up against it, that the odds are in favour of Umar, but we've seen Merab defy odds before. And you know what? If anyone's going to do it, it's someone who works as hard as Merab. So the final clip we're going to look at before moving on to Umar's interview and the controversy surrounding why that was removed from social media for a short period of time is about Merab talking about how he wins this fight. So let's take a look.
Just I'm not fighting somebody like it's like easy opponent. It's gonna be Umar Nurmagomedov, and win against him, I will take it. Doesn't matter, but not like not like disqualification or something. As long as I win, as long as I will win good, and I'll be happy.
And it's good to see him smiling, some positivity at the end there. And look, he seems to me to be a bit of a realist. Yes, maybe that chip on the shoulder accusation, I think it was fair earlier on, saying that Umar didn't deserve the shot. But he's just saying win by any means necessary. He knows that Umar is a puzzle that he's going to have to figure out. Whether or not he can do this within 25 minutes, we'll find out next Saturday. But really, this is a fight I cannot wait to see. But anyway, let's move on to Umar's interview and let's talk about the controversy. Why was this interview removed from social media? Is it because of Umar's wrist injury that his team didn't want leaked? I'm going to be honest with you, I've done a lot of research, a lot of digging on the internet, and it seems to be an editing issue more than anything else. I've heard that at the end of the video, the cameras went to black, and this probably wasn't the best look for ESPN, so I think they removed the interview before it got too much traction. But look, it took the internet by storm. People coming out with all kinds of conspiracy theories. But the fact of the matter is that Umar acknowledges his injury in the interview that was re-uploaded. So I don't think that makes any sense. I think it was only an editing issue. So we can take our tinfoil hats off and just enjoy the interview. So let's take a look at the first clip. The first clip we looked at from Merab's interview was asking how he felt being champion. So I thought it'd be good to compare with Umar being asked how he feels about being the challenger.
In a championship fight, man, I know you've been working towards this for a long time. How does it feel to just have the title fight? It's happening. You got a date, you got an opponent, and this thing you've been working towards is a real thing now.
Can't believe it. And of course, I'm excited and I'm very happy to fight for the title.
You probably couldn't get a bigger contrast between the answers to these questions. Merab, very negative, looking down, not looking happy at all. Umar with a beaming smile saying how excited he is. And understandably, if you're going to believe what Merab said, Umar's had one contender fight and then been given a title shot. But you know what? This is a man oozing confidence. He's very well aware of how good he is, even if he hasn't been tested over and over again at the very highest level. He is training with killers, pound for pound number ones, day in, day out. With Khabib as his coach, he should be confident. He's got all the tools to be a champion. And I'll give my opinion now. I think he could well be a champion for a long time if he gets past Merab. Now, the next clip we're going to look at addresses one of the narratives that's been ongoing throughout this build-up. The fact that Merab has refused to say Umar's name. Some people have said that it means that Merab is scared of Umar. Let's see what Umar thinks.
I've been covering this sport for a long time. I've been around people like, you guys are not scared. Merab Dvalishvili is a champion. Like, he's not. I have a hard time saying anybody's like scared of somebody else. But how do you read this? Because it has been weird that he refuses to say your name.
He just want to fight with a real guy who can beat. It not means I really 100% go inside the cage and smash him. Not. He know other guys he will beat. For me, it's gonna be hard. That's why he tried to be champion long time. He want to fight with O'Malley, with Piotr Jan or someone else, because of these guys, easy money. Me not. For me, he have to go deep waters. For me, it's gonna be long night. I will not give him to like takedowns. He will not control me. I have good skills.
Okay, so there is a lot of truth to what Umar is saying here. Although I do echo what Brett Okamoto says, I don't think Merab is scared of Umar, but he probably is scared of losing the paydays that you get when you're the champion. It's understandable that Merab would want an easier payday, such as an opponent that he's beaten previously, facing Piotr Jan, facing Sean O'Malley, because he has the data there. He knows that he can beat these guys. He's done it before. Whereas Umar is a new challenge from the best camp that's possibly ever existed. He knows that he's up against it. And he also knows that the best paydays he's going to get in his career is whilst he's a champion. Unless you're in some kind of crazy super fight where you have to be one of the biggest names in the sport, the most money you'll make is when you're in UFC title fights. So it's completely understandable that Merab, for his first title defense, wouldn't want to jump into the deep waters. It doesn't mean he's afraid. It just means he's aware of how good Umar is. And I will be doing my final prediction for this fight next week, but I don't think it shows weakness, the fact that Merab does acknowledge how good Umar is. And even by not speaking his name, we've seen fighters do crazy things in the past, throwing darts at their opponents, pictures on dartboards and things like that. That's probably a reference for the British fans who are watching. But fighters are just eccentric people. Maybe Merab doesn't want to acknowledge Umar until he has to on fight night. There could be a plethora of reasons why he doesn't want to speak his name. But I think the appreciation of how good a fighter Umar is, I don't think that's a weakness. I don't think you can read too much into that. Okay, so let's move on. We're really getting through these clips today. The next clip I want to look at is Brett Okamoto asking Umar, if Merab wins, how does he do it?
If Merab wins this fight, how do you think he would beat you?
He will not. I can't imagine how he will beat me. How? He can hold me. Okay, maybe he will take me down one time, but he have to hold me there. He can't. And he have to punch. Like, it's not gonna be how he did always. I'm not the person who will going to like, you know, crazy. Like I can wrestle too. Don't forget about it. But I can finish you. If you will leave me get back, I'm gonna choke you.
Okay, so answers below. Who does that sound just like? Whose answer could that be from? Fighter from the past 10, 20 years, Khabib. That is exactly the kind of answer that Khabib would give, not allowing the idea of defeat to come into his mind. You notice that Umar, for his broken English, he didn't even hesitate after he was asked that question. He knew what the question was, straight away shot it down, doesn't entertain it, doesn't even say a lucky punch might catch him or anything like that. Defeat is not something that Umar thinks about, and you can tell that this mindset, it trickles down. It's come from Khabib, it's come from Abdulmanap. These fighters don't believe in defeat. It's such a strong mindset to have, it's so motivational, and these fighters, all the Dagestani fighters, have seen Khabib conquer the UFC. They've got a perfect example to follow. He teaches them how to think, how to fight, and they all work together and produce some of the best fighters we've ever seen. This kind of mindset is the reason why Umar's fighting for a title and why he'll be at the top of the sport for a long time if he beats Merab. So the final clip we're going to look at is when Umar is asked whether or not there are any easy money fights for him in the division, because he said that Merab fighting Sean O'Malley again, fighting Piotr Yan would be easy money fights. Are there any easy money fights for Umar?
Is he easy money for you? And is there anybody in this division that is not easy money for you?
It's gonna be cocky if I will say he's easy money. I think he's not. He's a good fighter, you know. But hardest challenge in my division, I think, is Cody.
Is Cody?
Yes.
And you already got through him.
This fight was hardest in my life. It's gonna be what happened 18 January.
Again, you can almost hear Khabib's voice there saying, don't be cocky, Umar, you know, don't say that these fighters are easy money. But I thought it was really interesting, him saying that Corey Sandhagen is or was his most difficult fight. Is he perhaps trying to set up a rematch in a similar vein to Merab, fighting a previous opponent as his first title defence, knowing that he can beat them? Look, Umar still has to get through Merab, but if he does choose not an easier title defence because Corey Sandhagen is elite, but a fighter that he knows he can beat, that would be quite an interesting state of affairs, and I'm sure Merab would have a lot to say about that. Even though Umar concedes that Merab is a good fighter, he still doesn't put him on the level of Corey Sandhagen, so we can take it as a given that Umar doesn't believe that Merab is really going to challenge him. So I feel as though we've really got through a lot of clips there, and there's a lot that we can learn in terms of the fighters' mindsets, psychologies heading into this huge co-main event. With Merab, he does seem in a negative mind place. That isn't necessarily a bad thing. Fighters get motivated by all different kinds of things, but he knows that he's up against it against Umar Nurmagomedov. He'd have preferred an easier title defence, but he's been given Umar, and you know how hard he works. He's not going to let Umar take that belt off him without giving it absolutely everything. And Umar is just a complete contrast when you look at his personality type, at least heading into this one. Yes, there's the humility that we do associate with fighters from that region, but there's the confidence, a quiet confidence. He doesn't speak the best English, it's still very good, a lot better than my Russian, but you can tell that he's confident. He believes in his own ability, and most importantly, he's not even allowing the idea of defeat to come into his mind. Merab's faced defeat before, and there is strength in that. You can bounce back, you can learn from your mistakes. Umar hasn't experienced defeat before, and he's convinced that this isn't going to change. As soon as he got asked that question, I think that was the most telling part of the interview. He just said there's no way that he can defeat me. And you know, mixed martial arts is such a crazy sport. There's so many ways to win, so many ways to lose, but Umar's confidence just seems to be on another level. How this fight goes, we're going to do a more technical breakdown next week, but I think before we get into the technique side of things, it is interesting to play a bit of an armchair psychologist, take a look at both fighters when they're in interviews like this, and they're asked questions about their opponents, how they react. Let me know what you guys think, how deeply you read into the answers and the attitudes of both fighters, and let me know your predictions, how you think this one goes down. Thank you guys for watching again. Please like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.